everyone, it's Lisa here from Business in Heels. I'm really excited today. Happy 2019, a year of solutions. And we've got one for you, and I'm talking to Claire Nivarovich today, who's the Director of the Mental Health Programs with Worksafe Victoria. And I was horrified to find out that mental health is now a bigger problem in the workplace than physical health. So we're talking about this today because it affects all of us. So Claire, tell us a little bit about why mental health is so important, and and particularly in 2019.
Yeah, sure, Lisa, and hello everybody. It's great to be speaking to you about this really important issue that we have. And look, mental health is a really big area of focus for Worksafe, and certainly for myself and my team in particular. We're noticing, and as Lisa mentioned, that we've always had a really strong focus here at Worksafe on making sure people aren't physically injured when they're at work, and we've been making some good inroads there. We're seeing a reduction in the number of physical injuries in Victorian workplaces, which is fantastic. We've still got a lot to do there. But what we're seeing with mental injury is that the rates of that is increasing. It's continuing to increase, and that really concerns us. Yeah, so at the moment, mental injuries account for around about 13% of all accepted work cover claims. And yeah, that proportion continues to grow, and that's a real concern, because what we find when someone suffers a mental injury is that it's really difficult for them to get back to work after it. Those claims are very complex because they're often about, a breakdown in relationships within a workplace. So returning someone to safe work is a real challenge. So people are generally off work for a lot longer, and we've got a quite horrifying statistic about 38% of people who experience an accepted, work cover claim for a mental injury, 38% of them won't be back at work after 2 years.
Wow!
And imagine being disconnected from your workplace for 2 years. That's just such a awful thing to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Stephanie. Love to see you online. So tell us a little bit, Claire, about the actual programs that you're running and how they work.
Well, look, Worksafe has a range of things that we do to try and address the issue of mental injury and mental health at work. And we have activities where we encourage our employers and employees to understand what their rights and obligations are in relation to mental health. There's lots of info on our website about that. We also have, our inspectors, our Worksafe inspectors. They go out into workplaces in Victoria to talk to employers about mental as well as physical injury, so that our inspectorate activity covers that off as well. And we also have launched a new program called Worksafe Work Well, and that's a 5-year program of work in Victoria. We're delivering it with the Department of Health and Human Services, and that's really about sort of another way to engage with employers about how to prevent mental injuries at work, but also promote good mental health and wellbeing in the workplace. So it's a really exciting program. It kicked off, we started doing the development work a couple of years ago, but we've really released some key elements of the program just over the last sort of 6 months. So what we've got is we've got some funding that's available, large-scale grants for sort of big projects at industry or sector level, where we're wanting people to try out initiatives in workplaces that might help to address mental injury. So that's really, that money's going out to like industry bodies and those sorts of organisations, and they what they do is do a project that's focused on one of 4 vulnerable populations. What we find is that there's these 4 groups are more at risk of a mental injury at work. So you're probably not going to be surprised to hear these. It's young workers, it's older workers, also workers that are employed in an industry that might be going under significant transition. So if you think about, industries in decline, or equally industries that are really emerging, so things like through the gig economy and that sort of thing. And then the final vulnerable population, which again we hear a lot about sort of in the media and things, is our frontline workers. They're really at risk. There's a lot that happens with emergency services workers, hospital staff, teachers, those people that interact directly with the public. So they're really the focus of what we're wanting to do with that funding aspect of our program.
Joe's just asked a question, how do SME businesses get involved and what
Yeah.
resources can you offer them?
So look, I've got a really
question,
great
Jo.
thing to talk about next, Joe. So the other kind of, I suppose, universal offering that we've got through our Workwell program is our toolkit. And at the moment, this is specifically focused on small and medium businesses. So what it is, it's an online website. So if you go to if you Google search for Workwell, you'll get to our website.
Oh, we put the link up.
And the link's there. Oh, don't you love all of that stuff? And so what you can do is click on the toolkit. And what the toolkit is it's a place where you can look at what's currently happening in your workplace, answer some questions about, you know, how you're currently going with addressing mental health and wellbeing at work. And then what you get is some tailored actions and resources of the key things you could be doing to address that within your workplace. So it's really a tailored offering. It's based on meeting you where you are, and you can get a dashboard which has actions that you can undertake that are really practical and achievable within your workplace. So I'd really encourage you, Joe, to have a look at that Workwell toolkit and have a go at answering those questions and seeing the kind of info that you get as a result.
Yeah, I signed up, I just started, and
Right.
so it's all, it's very good. So certainly
Fantastic.
encourage that. And for many of you that are down in the local Geelong region, which is where Worksafe is,
Yep.
you can come along to our summit because we'll actually have a number of people there that can maybe talk to you one-on-one about your business.
Absolutely.
And Stephanie's asked, has much been done to research the negative impact of workplace tech on mental health?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of emerging evidence about impacts of, you know, various aspects of work on mental health, which is really fantastic because I think we've had a bit of a gap in really understanding what things, you know, do or don't impact in that way. And in fact, there was just an article I was reading earlier this week which was sort of talking about, you know, working remotely and how that was seen as, you know, working from home, what a fantastic thing and all that. But in fact, now there's some emerging evidence that there may be some downsides to that. So I think, you know, with any research that's coming out about this, it's so helpful because we can really then, you know, adapt our approach. But look, I'm not aware specifically of impact of research around technology on its own, but what we do know is that there are some key aspects of work that can impact positively or negatively on mental health, and we kind of call those organisational factors, and we've got a lot of info about that on the Worksafe website. And that's things like, you know, your relationships with colleagues and supervisors. If you've got poor relationships, no surprise, it impacts on your mental health at work. If you've got good relationships, it's the opposite. Things like the level of demand and control you have over the work that you do. So if you've got really high demand on you, but little ability to control how you do your work, we know that can impact negatively. Things like the way change is managed in a workplace. If that's done poorly, we know that that can have a negative impact. And I think that question that we had about, you know, the impact of technology, often those changes happening in workplaces are to do with technology. So I'm sure we could, you know, perhaps, you know, draw some links between that management of change to technology. So I don't know, hopefully that answers that question to some extent.
Yeah, cool. And Kirsten's just asked a question saying, mental illness still continues to be an issue from a social acceptance perspective, which inhibits people from raising concerns, etc. So how are your programs linking to health and safety committees in the workplace?
Yeah, sure. Look, that's such a great question, and we've really we've sort of called that out as a really key issue we've got with our mental health programs here at Worksafe. Is, you know, if we've got that stigma and, you know, concern about people raising the issue of mental health, it really inhibits our ability to be doing things about it. So again, a lot of what we're doing here at Worksafe is really trying to raise the profile of that issue, look at stigma reduction. We recently ran what we call our Hearts and Minds campaign, which hopefully people have seen a bit of that, you know, on TV advertising, and also all sorts of other things around the place. But it was really, making it clear that safety at work is about your mental and physical safety. And we had sort of close-ups of people's faces talking about experiences that they'd had which impacted on their mental health. So things like that is to really try and move the community conversation on and to really make this something that can be talked about. And things like, linking of programs into health and safety committees in the workplace, like that's really music to my ears. We want to see that that matters to do with mental health are discussed in the same way that issues around physical health and safety are in workplaces. So that's really the goal and what we're hoping to assist with by things like our online work well toolkit. It provides, for example, it might give you an action about looking at civility and respect within your workplace, and what the action will step you through is something that's a bit about what are we talking about here, awareness of what's that issue and why is it important at work. It'll then talk about how do you assess how you're going at the moment in your workplace, and that includes things like using consultation mechanisms that we expect for physical health related issues. So consult with your people about it, ask them how things are going, find out if there's a couple of key things that you could focus on in your workplace, and then use your health and safety committee to progress that and check back in and evaluate whether it's working. So that's what we'd love to start seeing happen in workplaces.
And to a certain extent, Business and Heals forms quite an opportunity for people that are being bullied or are actually feeling that they're quite isolated. And a lot of people often talk about it in our groups, and then you find it's a lot more normal than you would think. And I guess it's in that sharing that you kind of realise that you're not alone in all this. And I think that's often the worst thing for many people, is that they feel that there's something wrong with them, and that's why it's happening to them. And they're alone in this.
And I think that that's really a great point. I think what we want is for people to understand that you don't have to put up with things. If there's something that's happening within your workplace, there should be a way to raise that and have it addressed. And so really getting that message out there is key.
Yeah, excellent. So thank you very much, Claire, for sharing that with us. Hopefully encourage you all to have a look at the site. If you're interested, we'll of course have the WorkWell team at the Business Solutions Summit on the 23rd of February in Geelong at the Warren Ponds Estate. So very exciting, and we're looking forward to it. So thanks so much for coming on.
It's been great to chat, Lisa, and thanks to everyone who joined us. It's terrific the interest in this topic.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot, everyone.
See you later.